everybody, welcome back to an episode of The Why. I'm your host, Dylan Mullins, and presented by All American Roof Pros and All American Heart Studios. Obviously, we're the ones that are paying for this thing. But today, I'm sitting down with someone that I call a colleague, but I think by the time everything's all said and done, hopefully we can call each other friends. He's currently an employee here at All American Roof Pros, but I'm so excited to have him on to discuss his story on his life. Mr. Tyler Rayo.
I am Tyler Rayo. I'm from Sandusky, Ohio. I'm 33 years old. I grew up in the restaurant business for a long time. My dad owns a successful restaurant up in Port Clinton. Other than that, I just not too excited.
No, man, I think we're all excited because we all have a story, right, at the end of the day. And, just in getting to know you over the last few weeks on, onboarding you here and all that good stuff, I think you have an interesting story, bro. So I want to highlight that first and foremost because we all have a story. It's just a matter of figuring out what parts are interesting to other people, right? Because it might not be interesting to us because it's just the shit we went through or whatever. So let's start with the dad and the restaurant business stuff. Like, kind of walk me through how that story went from your eyes, man.
Okay, so growing up, it was I could give you the whole pitch, from mom meeting dad and starting.
Yeah, let's start there because I think there's something important to highlight there with that.
Right. No, yeah, absolutely. So back in the '80s when Acapulco was the Miami of the world, everybody wanted to go there for vacation. My mom, right after she graduated high school, she went to Acapulco, and she was just on vacation. And if you're in a resort area and you walk past restaurants or things like that, they'll have people standing outside with made plates of whatever the special is or anything like that, anything that's a highlight of the dinner or lunch or whatever it is. And they'll hey, come eat, look what we have, blah blah blah. My dad was one of those people. So, which is why my dad didn't speak a lick of English, my mom didn't speak a lick of Spanish. So, my mom was walking by, met my dad, they kind of hit it off, they hung out while my mom was in Acapulco. Kind of just, escalated from there. They were writing, after my mom returned to the States, they were writing letters, which, I'm sure was difficult without internet or Google Translate,
You got the translate books out.
Yeah, you have to go word by word. That's a way more than I'm willing to do for.
Love is love, man.
Love is love, I guess, man. They must have known. But, so then eventually my aunt had a wedding and my mom got my dad a visitor's visa. He came to the United States. Then while he was there, he was doing little bits of work for my grandfather. My grandfather owned a junkyard that was there forever. So there's a picture of them when they started in the 50s, and it showed how it changed all the way into 1990 something. And then so he was working there, and then he ended up getting a worker's visa and started doing that. And then from there, my dad got a job. Aside from that, he got a job at Ruth Packing, which is a slaughterhouse in Northwest Ohio, and he worked there most of my childhood. And during this though, he always did side jobs, whether it was flipping cars. He'd find.
He had the hustle.
He did, dude, and it's crazy because he didn't make a lot of money, but I never went without want or need, and so then he eventually started a landscaping company when I was probably I don't know, 10, 11. And
so then mom and dad, but a little part of the story though, mom and dad got married.
Mom and dad got married, yeah. And eventually, my dad
became a citizen.
American citizen. Took all the right lines to do it, completely legally. And yeah, so he started a landscaping company. That was probably a big thing. They did get married.
Just a little tidbit there before Tyler was born.
Yeah. And then I was born a year after they got married. And so then, fast forward, growing up, he wasn't always gone, to be fair. But, he provided. He definitely provided. And then he was there when it, meant things baseball games, soccer, all of that stuff. So, eventually, he did start a landscaping company. And, he just had, his push mower, 2 push mowers, weed whacker.
Just out hustling, man.
Hustling. And it ended up growing pretty big. It ended up being pretty big. He had, a trailer, zero turn, whatever those things were. And he really didn't. He dragged me out there, taught me, like, you know, made me have some work ethic. Cause,
How old were you when you were drug out in the field with Pops?
ooh, probably from 7th grade on.
Yeah, that sounds like me. Me and Brandon grew up siding with Dad in the trades.
Yeah.
And that's that time you could start walking and get on the ladder.
Right.
Like, you're going out and working.
Going out there, yeah. And, like, because my dad was, like, my dad will tell you, like, the craziest stories, like, where, like, my dad left home when he was 13 years old to start making money for himself. Because, like, where my grandparents are from, he didn't have electricity until he was, like, 8 years old. When we went to go visit them, they didn't even have a toilet and a shower. They put that in specifically for us. So it wasn't like a normal, like, it's hard to believe people still live like that. They still live in clay houses. You have to check anytime you put shoes on, you put your hand in a bag of chips or anything like that, you gotta shake it, make sure there's no scorpions, tarantulas. It's wild out there. It's the Wild West. And, like, through the whole, like, legality thing, it's even worse. Like, you know, there's no police, there's no hospitals.
It's all self-police.
It's all self-police,
like
yeah.
The freaking Wild West.
It is like the Wild West. It's wild. But, so, like, yeah, my dad wanted to make... So, one of the stories my dad always tells, which will translate into, like, him making me work, was when he was in Acapulco, probably, like, 14 years old, he would make just, like, the bare minimum amount of money doing whatever hustle he did. And to get the most food for the amount of money he would get, he would walk something like 20 miles to this little, like, ladies, or 15 miles, I can't remember. It was, like, an excessive amount of distance that I would not, like, I'd starve to death before. I would not be surviving if that was my option. But he would go to this one lady who had, like, a little food cart, and she'd give him 2 eggs, rice, and 2 tortillas. And, like, for that money, that's what he ate for the whole day. And, you know, sometimes he'd brag, sometimes she'd give me a piece of chicken. And I was like, that sounds terrible, actually. Like, you know, that's what I had for a whole day's worth of food. It's crazy. But, so, like, he actually went through life where it's like, if I don't work, I starve.
Yeah.
So my dad has this work ethic that, like, you don't see a lot of anymore unless you were, like, adverse poverty, where it's like, I'm either gonna die or I have to work, like, my ass off. And, like, so he tried to instill that in me, but I was kind of a spoiled, you know.
Yeah, because you always want your kids to have better than you.
Right.
So he was at the same time trying to provide you with a better life than he had.
Yeah.
He also, like, it's the same dilemma that every freaking parent goes through.
Right. And, like, you know, so, like, at a certain point, you know, I've, as a, like, middle schooler, playing video games, hanging out with friends, playing football, you know, all recreational, leisurely activities. He, you know, I think he started to notice, like, you know, my son's soft. I don't want to say soft, but, like, you
compared to him, relatively
yeah.
speaking, yeah.
Right. And he's like, you know, so, like, he was like, from now on, like, if you want something, you're gonna work for it. Like, he's like, I don't care. And he's like, I don't care if you don't want to work that day. He's like, I don't care if you're having a bad day. He's like, if you're not in school right now, like, so, like, a lot of it would be summertime, springtime, you know, and whatever. If you're not in sports, school, or whatever, you're going to come out and work with me if you want anything. And I was like, at this point in time, you know, start thinking about, you know, girls and everything. You want to go out, hang out, go to movies, things like that. So when I wanted to do that, I had to go mow lawns, weed whack, whatever we needed. And I know that was kind of a big tangent to get from, like, my dad starting the business, but...
yeah, so then so what happened? So the landscaping business, he sold off, if I remember the story right?
Yep, he ended up, like, when I was... This was 2008 when he started the restaurant, so probably, like, 2007, beginning of 2008. Yeah, we opened in February of 2008, so probably 2007. He sold his entire business, whole clientele list, to one of our neighbors, sold everything. I think he kept, like, 1 snowblower and 1 lawnmower, you know, just for personal use. But then, so essentially there was another Mexican restaurant, which I think you guys have over here, or at least Ashland, I believe, Casa Fiesta.
Yep.
So we went there probably like God knows how long, probably like 2000-ish era, when they opened up in Sandusky, and our server happened to be from the same state of Mexico that my dad is from. So they became friends. They hung out throughout this entire, us growing up. And then about 2000, no, this was way before 2000 then. Because this was like when Casa Fiesta first opened. So I was probably like 6, 7.
So mid-90s, somewhere around there?
Yeah. And then, so then my dad, and he came up to my dad, because they already tried opening a restaurant on 250. It was called Casa Real. It was out on Ranchero. They bought it, changed it to Casa Real. They owned it with 2 other brothers. So it was Isaac, his brother. Isaac's my dad's friend. Isaac, his brother, and then 2 other brothers that weren't related. But they didn't get along with the 2 other brothers, so they sold off their half. They approached my dad because they knew my dad had, like, you know, he had a successful business. They're like, hey, we would like to open up a restaurant in a place that isn't saturated with Mexican restaurants, which was like for Clinton era. They have like one place, it's called Mendoza's. It's actually, like, the food is very good. It's like ran by like somebody's great grandmother by herself. The food's good.
So but it's like not a very business savvy restaurant.
No.
Good food, but just not great service, right? It's
Right. Well, it's literally just her.
It's very niche.
Right. And like we went there before we opened up the restaurant, and I remember like the thing that stuck with me, which is just me being a spoiled American whatever kid. So when I ordered the pop, like the old Mexican lady just like pointed over to the cooler. She was like, "Yeah, they're over there." I was like, I gotta do this myself.
Yeah.
You think that I'm sorry, I'm in
more like a grab and go type, but not
right.
a sit down restaurant.
It is a sit down restaurant.
Okay, so it's very
Right,
very mom and pop though. Very.
It's only mom.
Yeah.
No, pop's gone. She's probably like 118 years old, so she's not very mobile.
But great food. We're not.
The food is fantastic.
Yeah.
The food is fantastic. It's made by like abuela, like, you know what I mean.
Yeah.
It's made by, you know,
it's
she
legit.
Knows, yeah, it's Mexican. You know, she's been cooking.
Probably
Mexican
our
food.
American taste buds probably
Right.
don't like it too much.
I loved it. My dad actually just made some stuff last night. It was so good. It's like some steak stew, hard boiled eggs, still with the shell on it. Like, it's crazy.
It's wild stuff. Yeah.
No, it is. But so anyway, they ended up opening up the restaurant, and it was immediately successful. We had lines forever, and they still are packed constantly in the summertime. Like if you go there, like if you're in the Port Clinton area and you just look up restaurants near me, it's gonna be the number one thing. Like aside from the sponsored ones, Google calls us all the time because they're like, "Hey, we want you to be a sponsored ad." It's like we don't need to anymore.
Yeah, we're good.
But so yeah, but that really turned our lives around. You know, my dad. We went from living like paycheck to paycheck. My mom, because my mom owned a dance studio, which isn't a very lucrative.
It's more of a hobby than it is a.
Right. It's not very lucrative. And then she was like a cheerleading coach. And then eventually she like had to she was like, I gotta figure something out. And then she became a bus driver for like the local schools, which she got her CDL and did all that. But so after that though, it kind of changed everything. You know, started doing really well. And then a little bit after that, I want to say like 2011, 12, my parents got divorced. They both found people that they love, so they're both incredibly happy.
Amicable divorce?
Yeah.
Which, yeah, you and I were talking because I'm always interested because I'm a product of divorce.
Right.
And the later life one is a, you know, it's not very typical, right?
No,
they raise their kids together and they're
right.
like, you know what? We don't really like each other like this anymore.
Right.
Right?
I mean, growing up, I mean, there definitely was like strain, especially with like finances and things like that, because my dad did everything he could to make sure bills were paid. And my mom also liked to spend money frivolously. Like, she was like a product of like the shopping channel. But like at the end of it...
Well, she also had a successful family though, so
yeah.
she saw that.
And saw that.
And that's her habits, right? So it's not a knock on either one. Your dad knew how to hustle. Your mom knew how to spend.
Yeah.
My wife knows how to spend. I'm
right,
not sitting here, and I love you, baby.
Yeah.
But, you know, it's not that's the thing, like... Because I know you're a single guy, like I've noticed with relationships is like if your finances aren't in order, that's where the biggest strain can come from. And then on top of that, if you don't have your individuality set aside from being a parent or even being a husband or a wife, like that's where things can misconstrued, right?
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
that's why you do see like, don't get me wrong, my grandparents love each other. I talk about them all the time on the podcast. My grandpa's my hero, and they loved each other, but it was almost, sometimes it felt a little forced, right? Yeah. And it just, because they were grandma and grandpa.
Right.
And they never really were Barb and Paul.
Right.
And too often that's where I'm so, like, stickler on folks. Like, one, I'm big on nucleus family. I think that's so important. And I think your parents obviously value that because they waited until you guys were older to be like, you know what,
Right.
we're gonna go find something else, right?
Right.
And and that's, to me, I think that's a very strong to be able to say that, because there's a lot of people that are just shitty people
Right.
that just live shitty lives separately
Right.
together, and then just like continue to throw dirt on one another, and it doesn't help anything. It
No.
ends up being super nasty for kids and all that good stuff. But when you have like your identity as a person, and then you remember, hey, we made this because man, I know you don't have kids, but like, it's such a hot topic for me because of my little. Well, by the time it comes out, we're past her. Well, she'll be a year old by the time this comes out.
Oh wow.
Which is wild, but she's 10 months.
Right.
She'll be 10 months this week.
She's in May?
On we're recording. Yeah.
Oh, May.
Yeah, she's May 16th.
May 6th.
Okay, nice, man. May the 6th. Or, wait, isn't that like. No, May the 4th.
May the 4th be with you.
Yeah. But,
we always make a joke that my dad was off by one day, Cinco de Mayo.
That's funny. But yeah, no, so but when you bring that baby home, you're like, you've never made anything more perfect. You feel a whole different type of love. But you can't get lost in that.
Yeah.
You got to remember who you are.
Right.
And I remember hearing the cliche of like, you're probably sitting there looking like, like. Dude,
no, I hear it a lot.
But it's so insane. Like, you've never felt more loved. But we're also, my wife and I are both intentional of saying, you know what, I still love you more because we created this thing.
Right.
Right. This little baby, we created that together from our love, and so we try to keep that at the forefront. And too often, parents, and they do it unintentionally, right? Because you want a better life for your kids, so you're working for that, and you're focusing on being mom and dad. You have a sister, right?
Yeah.
So mom was probably doing the dance studio stuff because she wanted her, your sister to be involved with that stuff, and then she moved to cheerleading probably because she wanted her sister to be involved in cheerleading. Like, we dissect it all back out. That's what it was really them just trying to be good parents, but eventually they kind of lost that focus of what they had in Acapulco.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's not a bad thing. It just happens.
Well, I agree entirely, and I do appreciate my parents for like slugging it out because there were definitely, they probably shouldn't have been together for a long time before that, but they did. I do appreciate what they did for my sister. I was always older and more like.
You were seeing it more, right?
Yeah, I saw the more prevalent version of it because they would like try to water her down for my sister. Because my sister is like. Now it's different because me and my sister are almost like, my sister is the one who's like very hardworking. Like she'll like the way I always described her, like I was a kid who I never did homework, never had to. Come to exam time, I'm acing. Yep. Never like I was top of my class effortlessly. Yep. And my sister was the one like, you got a project, like she's starting at the day. Like I'm telling my mom.
Shoes,
I'm telling my mom like
night before I need poster board.
I was like, we need to get cardboard. I need to cut things out. She's like, well, when's it due? 7:30 tomorrow morning. Yeah. You got a lot going on, Mom. All night tonight. You're gonna have to help.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
No, and that's the thing is like let me ask you this. Do you think that it was, I mean, obviously it probably wasn't super healthy for them. Do you feel like it was healthy for your childhood for them to stay together? Or do you feel like they should have?
It probably wasn't because it gave me like warped ideas of what relationships should be.
Yes.
But like I'm a very, like I always can call myself a realist. Like I know how the world, it's gonna sound super douchey for me to say. Like I usually know how things are gonna work out before they work out. Like, yeah, I hope for the best, but like, and hope for the best, prepare for the worst, hope for the best.
Yes.
But usually, like as you see life play out, and not like enough of life. I've lived a lot of life in my 33 years. I've been to the top. I've been to the bottom. I know realistically, based on all the circumstances, I'm pretty good at predicting how things are gonna go. So like seeing now, only because I dealt with all that stuff. Like I saw what my mom went through. I saw what my dad went through. My dad tried to make things work even after well past of when it was. He was like, I promise you, like, and my dad wasn't even the one who was in the wrong here. My mom was the one who made the mistake. My dad still wanted to like, we'll work this out. Which I'm glad they didn't because my dad found someone. Because my dad is super traditional, in some ways good, some ways bad, but like like a lot of people, depending on where you're at, it might be what you expect. But like he expects like a traditional marriage, traditional wife, that type of stuff, and he found someone who was raised like that, and like my dad and his wife were the happiest I've ever seen my dad. My dad was the most stressed out individual growing up. he had gray hair at like 24, 25. He was already graying, and like I ain't got no gray hair. I'm not.
Yeah.
I'm used to life, so I know I don't usually get stressed out by much because I do. I know usually how it's gonna go out, whether I want to accept it or not. Like sometimes, like I'll be in denial about how things are gonna work out, and I'll be like, nah, I'll figure it out. But realistically, I do know how to.
Well, see, I'm gonna challenge you on a couple things there. The first one is I agree with you in the sentiment of like everything happens for a reason, and like your parents went through that, and you saw it as a child, and we can take it's all perspective based. Life is entirely perspective based. Actually, a sermon that I heard that's probably one of my favorite is like when we're talking to somebody about Christ, we have to meet them where they are, not where we want them to be, right?
Right.
So if I take that, it's all perspective, right? So if I'm talking to somebody that's in front of me that, you know, we call it the beat with the Bible, right? Where they just were forced to go to church, they feel this disregard towards the ministry, and they have that problem, so we have to meet them where they are. So it's no different in this situation where, you know, we have to meet someone where they are, which is what that realist thing is, right? We're meeting them where they are. And so with that, your parents, and you can take that, and that's where I was talking about the perspective base, you and your sister can now go, hey, that's what I don't want, right?
Right.
Where, like, for our kids, right, or our families, we bring shit in that's baggage and shit. That's what it is, right? I'm a product of divorce. I know for a fact I did not want my kids to go through that, and I thank God every day that there's relationships that failed, like, so that way I didn't raise a kid into a relationship that was eventually, like, I didn't bring a kid into this world with a relationship that was going to fail, but in that moment, as a man,
right.
I think we romanticize more than women do.
Yeah.
You know, there's something about our DNA.
Absolutely.
Like, we romanticize way more.
Way more.
Like, we don't think about it because we're like, oh, it's manly, it's masculine. Like with your dad, right?
Right.
He's romanticizing, I want this perfect family, I want the,
of course.
2.3 kids and the white picket fence and the house, and, you know, he had these dreams of America because he was probably...
That was the dream,
So,
that's what they sold it as.
But he had to go through that shit to figure out, hey, I don't want that.
Right.
You know, and yeah, is divorce great? No. If you open up your Bible, it clearly states, you know, you're supposed to work things out until you can't, and that's where, you know, some biblical scholars can disagree when I talk about it from a faith-based standpoint. But what I will challenge you on is the fact of the realist thing. You know, I run a lot of stuff back to biblically because that's just where my heart's at. And God created us in His image, and He had the ability to speak things into existence. So if we take manifestation's very real. If we say we're going to do something, we're able to do it, right?
Right.
And that's why. But at the same time, you don't want to share big dreams in a small room because they'll get deflated before they even get off the ground. So with that, like if we take our situation and go, you know what, I was handed a shit sandwich, but I'm gonna whip it up like Tyler's dad in the kitchen and make it something that's a five-course meal. I can do that. And so when life gets handed to us, because it's what happens, life just gets handed to us. Well, sometimes it's out of our control. There's a lot of shit that's out of our control. I can't change, you know, I'll just use the example of if I get pulled over today on my way home, I can't change how that cop's attitude is. Right? He can be the coolest guy in the world, he can be the biggest asshole in the world. Mm-hmm. At the end of the day, I'm going to try to give him some positivity so that way, hey, let's be cool to each other.
Right.
You know?
That's what I try to do every day.
Yeah. So with that, man, like it's, with that, common thing that I'm constantly telling folks is like either life happens to you or for you, it's your choice on which one it is.
Oh, I agree. I feel like you maybe just like, not misunderstood, but like appropriated what I'm saying. Like it's not like I know that like I make my life dope.
Yeah.
Like
exactly.
I'm good at what I do.
I'll be happy in a cardboard box, man.
Right.
Like,
yeah. I'll make it work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But meanwhile, you see people in $1 million house and they're miserable.
Right.
You know?
Right. Exactly. No, but like I know like if I want something bad enough, I'm snatching that chain, and it's not that's not the issue. It's like when people like something is about to happen in life. I'm usually a pretty good judge of how it's
you have good intuition, is
yes,
what you were trying to say.
Essentially, yeah. Actually, perfectly. That's exactly what I was trying to say.
Yeah.
So, like, that's basically what I was...
No, that's a good that's a good thing in life because then you can anticipate what other people's actions are going to be.
Right.
That's the biggest variable in life, right?
Right.
It's no different than if I've got somebody standing in front of me and I can just kind of sense on where their feelings are, then direct them on where I feel like we need to go with the conversation. I don't give a shit what we're talking about.
Right. No,
you know, it's no different than sitting in this chair. If I feel somebody getting hostile, I'm going to try to redirect the conversation to a positive direction, so that way that's an yeah, I get that, and that's I call it reading people. I read people very well.
That's my thing. That's why I've gotten to where I've gotten is only because. I mean, besides my good looks, it's just all of that.
And so that would come from, you know, in my opinion, it came for me from like, so our developmental years as children, and maybe you can find something that you can dissect this back to for you, but they're between 5 and 11. Right. And 4 and 11 actually is the true statistic. So we find who we are as people by there. By the time we hit the age 12, typically we have who we're going to be, aside from some trauma responses that we can't control. If something super traumatic happens outside of that, it will change who we are biologically. But besides that, we find our foundation before puberty. And for me, you know, being a product of divorce, I found that I'm a good people reader because I had to, you know, my parents got divorced when I was 6 officially, but I think they were separated by the time I was 4. So, you know, my parents were bringing new folks around. I'm trying to figure out how's this guy, you know, who's this guy?
I can tell you exactly where I got mine from.
Yeah? I want to hear.
So, I grew up, like, when I moved to Perkins from Sandusky, I lived in a neighborhood where, like, all of, like, I don't know.
What was that? What was the age for that?
We moved when I was 7.
Okay. Yep.
So, went there. But, like, this actually happens. The reason who I am today is a long-term lesson that I learned for a long period of time. So, like, just to give you a broad aspect of it, is I had trouble finding out who I was, as opposed to seeing new people, and I didn't know who I was. So I went through a lot of phases. Like, where I grew up, I hung out with all, like, you'd say, like, the popular jock kids. Like, we were always playing sports and doing all that stuff. And then, like, when I, I'd say middle school, I had like a falling out with my best friend, and he had like this weird, because like this girl, it was weird because it's 6th grade girl boy type stuff, and it's like doesn't matter at all.
It was irrelevant, right? But at the time, it's the biggest thing.
It was the biggest thing in the world to him. So like the girl he told me he had a crush on, literally just like started like talking to me, and like because we were in the same class together, and we were like always talking, and he got weird about it, and like. Told all of my friends to stop hanging out with me, and like some weird thing, and like they all listened for some reason because, you know, I guess group mentality or whatever it's called.
A herd mentality.
Herd mentality, and so like they did, and like so I had to like find all new friends, and I did. I found, and they're like, you know, they weren't like cool kids, but like, you know, we listened to classic rock in like 6th grade, and like set off fireworks, and probably like. You know, just like screwed around. Airsoft was like a big thing back then too, so like that was like that type of group. And then probably like a few years, like next year after that, I started like hanging out with like skateboarders, pothead type people. But like this whole time, I'm also in all honors classes. Those are like I'm hanging out.
At school, those are
outside
the
hanging
school,
out. Then I'm like
outside
skateboarding. Then I'm like skateboarding. You know,
climbing,
climbing.
There's a giant building called the Medusa. It's abandoned. It's a cement building. It's abandoned.
Used to climb up there.
Used to climb up there.
Being delinquent, yeah.
I started getting
this
into
was
that.
like Blink 182.
Blink 182, going to Warped Tour, doing all that stuff. So like I lived, and then like I started hanging out with kids from different schools, going to like Huron, Margaretta, because I really didn't know, because I never really felt entirely comfortable.
You didn't find where you fit.
Where I fit. Like I never felt like I was like at home, like at a group of friends. And then what's crazy is eventually, I went through clique after clique after clique, school after school after school. That's why I know everybody everywhere. And then I did end up circling back around with the kids that I grew up with, and we started hanging. Like that's who I hung out with, like from college, because like we all moved down to Columbus together. And you know, I had a great time down there. But like what I learned through all that is like experiencing every different group of people, and like this is originally when I went to college, I was pre-med psychology, because I think that the human psychology is one of the most interesting things in the world.
Absolutely.
People can live entirely same lives and come out completely different, and
it's wild.
It's so wild, and like just the mental aspect of like what the human brain is capable of. Like you can literally there's people who can convince themselves. Like even just simple mental illness you can hear voices. You can manifest voices in your head, like
which I believe a lot of that comes from vitamin deficiency typically. Like
Right.
there's some that are genetic.
Right. No. Yeah. Absolutely.
But there's a lot of it that's just in our how we consume our food.
Right. But just.
But even that, like, it's just wild.
It's just wild that can cause that, like, you know, and like multiple personality disorder and anything like I've had like a fugue state before where like I lost 3 days, like not drug or alcohol induced, where like just like stressors, depression, and everything, like I just dissociated entirely.
The human body in general
is crazy.
Wild. That's why when I understand the theory of evolution,
right?
But also like. I don't know how someone could think that something this complex could just be a product of two freaking cells banging in a mud puddle 2 million years ago.
Right. Yeah.
And like like how perfect we are.
Yeah.
Like
No,
our
crazy.
Bodies are so perfect, and then our brains are so screwed up. But that's because we put other factors into that aren't necessarily natural.
There's actually a picture of it's like one of the widest. It's like one of the widest pictures of the universe. Like it encapsulates so much of what is in the visible spectrum of the universe, and up to a human brain cell, they almost look identical.
It's wild, isn't it?
It's crazy. But so like just experiencing humanity, every different aspect of humanity. Like I've hung out with people who are like, you know, adverse poverty. You know, they have like a tube coming out of their upstairs window so they can just throw their trash out this window, and it just ends up in their dumpster outside. And like, you know, I remember like we'd box. They'd only have one set of gloves, so it was like right hand versus left hand. And like it was always sucked to get left hand. But, you know.
They just flip a coin
Right,
and figure out who gets
right.
what.
No, yeah, and so like I've been with like the literally the bottom of the barrel, but I have family that live in like Tartan Fields, Muirfield, like where they hold the memorial tournament. And like when I was in school, like I spent a lot of time over there. So I also lived with millionaires. So I've been to the top, I've been to the bottom, I've been with every different clique you could ever imagine, every different type of thought process, every type of religion. You know, I've been through it all. So like I think that's given me a very good depiction of what humanity is and will be capable of. And like I usually get such a good read on people. And like one thing, this is not going to sound like a great thing for me as a person, but like one thing I've always been good at, and it was a thing that like I'm not proud of when I was younger, I'm very good at zeroing in on people's insecurities. So like I can tell.
Oh, bro, I was the best your mama jokes are.
Oh yeah, bro, I'm so nasty.
Yeah,
I'll ruin someone's day.
I'm the same way,
yeah.
dude. Like.
So like, but like nowadays, I love having this ability. Like back then, like, you know, I used to use it. Like
it was a disability at that point, really. I mean, because you
well, it's
were
also manipulative.
Because you were using it adversely, so I would call it. You're not using it to its fullest potential.
Right.
So in that case, I would call it a disability.
Yeah, I agree.
And then once you start using it, it becomes an asset.
Yeah, and I agree entirely. So now, like, you know, whether I'm speaking to whoever, you know, customers, females, whatever, I'm good at it because, like, you know, let's say I see you're not confident about some specific part of you, like, I'll compliment it, build you up, make you feel better about it, makes you feel comfortable talking to me. Like, I'm the friend that all my friends are like, no, you're having a bad day, you should come talk to Tyler. Like, I've also lived a lot of life, so.
Well, yeah, and we have a lot of similarities. Like, I love the human brain, the psychology behind who we are, why we are who we are. Like, that's why the podcast is called The Why.
Right.
Like, I want to figure out, like, who made us or what made us.
Right.
I know who made us. Like, that's ingrained in me. And it's different for everyone, so I don't try to be that guy. I feel like it's so important in who we are. I heard it, a pastor one time, because he go, because we talk about, I think that the science can be married to the understanding that we were created by someone. They can be, because at the end of the day, like, it's so important to medical, like, understanding, like, how the body works, you know, some advances in just the medical technology, but also just, like, understanding, like, that psychology portion of, like, if we can unbox our shit, it's amazing how far we can go. Because if you can go back and say, hey, I was similar to you. I went to, before I found my permanent school when I was in 5th grade, but before that I went to 4 different schools. So 4 different times before I was in 5th grade, I had to go find a new group of friends, figure out who I was. That's why I'm a very good personal person.
Right.
I understand that. And, like, in high school, it was nice that I went to a small school, so I just kind of was able to be friends with everyone. There was really no cliques, you know what I mean?
Right.
Like, everybody just kind of got along with each other. even the more, I was in the popular group per se, but I was very involved in like student council. I was very involved in all that other stuff. And I don't hinge a lot on my school life just because it's such a small freaking portion. And when you're in high school, you think, oh, I'm gonna be friends with these guys forever. And it's not. My problem is like, man, I immediately, like, I didn't grow up poor. Much like you, though, I grew up watching my dad work his ass off, watching my parents struggle with money. My mom had a spending problem. Like, I see the similarities, and it's like, it's wild. But I knew I wanted better. And with that, like, I went to work. Like, don't get me wrong, I had a terrible time with spending for a while. I did not have a good muscle on financials. Actually, I think it's in my office. There's a Tommy Boy poster, and bless my mom for doing this. There's a Tommy Boy poster I bought at Myers. It was like $16. It ended up in overdraft fees costing me like freaking $200.
Jesus
and
Christ.
Like, yeah, it's like exactly.
You like that poster?
Yeah, well, now I do because it's got a story, right? But it made me realize, oh shit, I've got to manage my money.
Yeah.
But if you take that, and I could have been like, well, this sucks, I need to go borrow some money. Like, no, my mom was like, no, you're not borrowing money from me. Like, figure it out. Yeah. And like, it was a good lesson because now I'm like, okay, I can manage finances. Like, I've just got to be a little bit more conscious on how I'm spending and what I'm spending and why I'm spending. But if you go back to that, man, like, being able to be a chameleon and walk into any room, like, my wife, it drives her up the wall because I literally can be friends and talk to anybody about anything. Anything.
It drives all my friends crazy, especially if we're going somewhere. Like, I have, like, going out, like, let's say we're going to a bar, I'm notorious. They say, I'll disappear. Like, my friends, like, if they don't see Tyler in 2 minutes, we gotta go find him. Because, like, I'll make friends, end up at, like, another bar, somebody.
Well, I told you how Tori and I met. That was my entire game plan.
Right.
That night, I was like, I'm going to just hang out with these people. If they suck, I'll freaking bounce out, and we'll be good, right? And I'll spare the audience the details, because I've told the story enough. But, like, yeah, that's been my entire mentality, my entire life. I don't care. Don't get me wrong, I'm still, like, there's some nerves involved, right? Yeah. Like, you just, like, it's that fear of rejection, which is the dumbest thing in the world if you really think about it.
No, I agree. I actually, like, have it's weird. Me as myself, like, you could say, rejection doesn't bother me. People, like, making fun of me will never bother. I always tell everybody, there's 4 people in the world that can hurt my feelings. My mom, my dad, my sister, and my best friend. Like, other people's opinion, obviously, like, it's different by relationship as, like, an employee-employer. Obviously, I want to do my best for you guys, because it's also going to, benefit me. And I care, like, if I would be upset, like, if you were upset about something I was doing. But, like, when it comes to my personal feelings, like,
they're different.
Yeah,
you box them differently.
Yeah, you could say the most foul thing to me, and I'll be like, yeah, probably cool.
Dope. Well, and also too, like, being able to be reflective on that, right? And going, because when words have impact, words have value. Yeah. And going, you know what? It should be a reflection.
That's what I was just
and be accountable to yourself.
If it's reflective of, and like if I know it to be true or something, like there's truth behind it. Like, obviously, I'd take it. I'd be like, oh, yeah, I could work on that on myself.
Yeah, as long as they're being genuine and authentic.
Right. But, like, someone who's just, like, being malicious to be malicious, like, for the sake of malice, like, it's like, I'm like, who cares?
And, on the inverse of that, like, the fact that you can go, hey, you know what, this person has an insecurity that they're dealing with, because it's most of the time what happens.
Right.
Like, go back to the schoolyard playground, right? You know, with the bully, like, now, the bully had a shitty home life. Yeah, like, they're trying to just mask what they're going through.
Project.
And when people are doing that in society, then you go, you know what, they might be acting like a piece of shit, but they're probably not a piece of shit. Go back to the humanity aspect of it. Don't get me wrong, there are certain groups of people that I don't care. To go back to the Bible thing, like, just turn the other cheek, it's just be better.
Right.
There are certain groups of people, I'm still a heathen saved by grace, man. There's certain groups of people that I'm just like, no, we're good. Like, I don't have to love on you, I don't have to like you. We can have a conversation. Yeah. It's not that I have to be an asshole to you.
We're both just living.
But yeah, you go do something with my wife or my kid, like, that's where the heathen's gonna come out. Right. That's where I'm gonna be the protector. That's where Daddy Bear's coming out.
That's the same thing that I said, like, there's only 4 people that can hurt my feelings. There's only 4 people, like physical confrontation, like, I always tell everybody this, like, I'm not, like, if you're gonna try, like, you're at, like, some social outing, somebody's, like, antagonizing you, just me personally, like, you could do, you're gonna spend all day.
You can say whatever you want to me.
It's never, but, like, those 4 people, you did something, like, you hurt one of those 4 people, that's a different ball.
Yeah, you screw with my circle, we got problems, right? But outside of that, like...
Me personally, I don't care about anything you say about me because I know I'm dope.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you talk about the physical aspect of it. If you physically do something to me, or I feel like you're attempting to do malice, I'm going to protect myself. But that's once again unique to me as an individual. I know some people are more docile. That's more powerful.
No. Like if I think, I took. I'm a black first degree black belt taekwondo. My family are all state wrestlers. Like I will protect my. Like if you're swinging at me, it's not gonna go well. Yeah. Like whatever. But like if you're just trying to antagonize me, like picking.
If you're trying to provoke the fight,
right?
You're not gonna get it out.
You're gonna be wasting all day.
Yes. Yeah. I'll literally. So there's a bar up north called Tater Hill. Have you ever heard of it or been to it? I don't think I've ever shared this story on the podcast, but I'll share it with you anyways. So when I first started dating my wife, she's like, "Hey, we're going out with my friends. We're going to this place called Tater Hill." Immediately, I'm like, "Do they serve potatoes? Like, what's the?"
What's the deal?
But it's just what they call it. And every time I've been in there, I have personally been involved in some kind of altercation. And I'm not the fighting person, man. Even when I'm drinking, like I am that happy guy.
Yeah.
Like I'm not gonna start anything. And so the first night we go there, I get out of the car with the girls. My wife and her three friends, or her two friends. So there's three girls and me. I hear this guy, before I'm even out of the car, say, "You want to fight?" And I knew he was talking to one of the girls, so I stood up and I'm like, "Do we have a problem?" Like immediately, I'm like,
"That's so weird."
So anyways, he's like, "No, I'm sorry, man. I'm like, okay, whatever." So we go in the bar. I might get Tater Hill canceled for this. I genuinely don't think.
Where's this at?
It's in Berlin Heights.
Oh.
It's a really good little dive. Cheap beer.
I love dive.
Yeah, it's a hole in the wall, right, dude. Like, so anyway, night goes on. We're having a good time. Her sister ends up showing up with who is now my brother-in-law. So my sister and brother-in-law show up because they wanted to meet me. I was the new shiny object, right? So everybody was like freaking, So there's a huge group of us, and it's a tiny bar. Like it's not much bigger than this room. I'm exaggerating, but it's small. It's a dive bar. Yeah, U-shaped bar. We're on the one side, it dead ends into the wall. The other side has a door on the outside, and not much space in between, like enough for like 4 people. And I'm on
pool table, nothing like that.
They got a pool table on the other side. So, like I said, not a bad place. I have my back to the wall though, because it was a pretty popular night. These two dudes end up freaking just going at it, just socking each other. And I'm just watching it, and I'm like, man, I've been to a lot of bars. Like usually somebody jumps, They let these dudes go for like 5 minutes. Eventually, somebody goes and breaks them up. I'm like, man, do I need to be the bouncer? I'm just like, because I'm in protector mode. Like once again, go back to that. Like you mess with my people, we have a problem. Otherwise, you can do whatever you want to me. We're good.
Right.
And I really like this girl. So ends up, they separate these two guys. They put the one guy so we're here on the horseshoe. They put the one guy here. They put the other guy on the other side of the horseshoe. So we go back to drinking, having a good time, and I made buddies back to that chameleon thing. I made buddies with the bartender at that point. We may have gone once or twice. This may not have been our first visit. But either way, I made buddies with the bartender. It's important to the story. So then I watch the guy who threatened me, that's important because he is on the other side of the bar. I watch him start beelining around the U. And there's this little sweet lady bartender in there. And
the one that you made friends with?
No, so I made friends with the guy. There's 2 bartenders in there. There's a little sweet lady. I think we had talked, but the other guy, he's the one I made friends with. His name's Matt. So they're coming around the bar, and I hear the lady bartender say, "I have wasp spray." And I see her pull this can out, and she's pointing it at this dude and tracking him across as he's hauling ass. And it took a second. It was like a delayed response because I'd never heard that word before. Right? That sentence, it's not one that I had I'm like, oh yeah, this is what we do in that situation. So I process and I'm like, yeah, no, she said wasp spray. So then I grab her, but I'm like, duck, because if she shoots that shit, it's probably gonna be very fun.
No, yeah.
So dude goes over and he just starts wailing on the dude that's at the other end of the bar, just freaking whap. Gets probably 5 or 10 punches in, and
the guy who was fighting initially.
Yes.
Okay.
With the other guy. These two are back at it. I don't know what the hell's going on. Didn't get the full story. That's just my perspective thing. Right. This is what I could see and witness. Yeah. Ends up lighting that dude up that had come across, and they tried to fight me originally. Right. Or fight the group. Right. With wasp. Lights this dude up with wasp spray. And that shit, it come out pretty fast. Dude.
Oh, yeah.
Wasp spray, 25 feet.
Oh, yeah.
And she had hella good aim, just right in this dude's face.
Oh.
And it was apparently a delayed response. Because after he got hit with it, and she let out a pretty good stream. After he got hit with it, he just gets 3 or 4 punches in, and he's like, "Did you just pepper spray me?" And she's like, "It's wasp spray." And
It's gotta be worse.
yeah, I don't think it was enjoyable.
It kills wasps.
Yeah,
there's no way. Your eyes are melting, I feel like.
Yeah, I mean, once again, I'd probably get Tater Hill in trouble if this ever pops. So they end up spilling down. This was 5 years ago, so it might be past statute. Anyways, so it ends up spilling down to us. I'm like watching the entire
The wasp
time.
spray is spilling?
No. The fight. The fight
Ooh.
spills down to us. You're a good interviewer. The fight spills down to us, and they end up bumping into my sister-in-law. So I'm like, mother. Like, this is all like conversation I'm having in the back of my head. I'm like, now I'm involved.
Right.
Like, at this point, I don't want to show this girl that I get in bar fights.
Right.
I don't want to, like, I'm trying to impress this girl.
Right.
I'm going to marry her and have kids with her. Like,
Right.
I already had dictated that a month in.
Right.
So I'm like, son of a bitch. So I'm like, okay. So I'm like, I didn't like turn on a switch or anything, because back to the wrestling thing, I coached for 10 years, I wrestled for 6. Like, I can hold my own.
Right.
And I grew up with 3 brothers, and my brother Brandon and I beat the living shit out of each other. Like,
yeah.
fighting's I'm not opposed to it. I'm not a docile person, but also at the same time, like, I'm gonna protect.
Right.
So this is the funniest part. I'm like, all right, I'm gonna separate these two, and whatever happens at that, I'll take it.
Right.
It is what it is. So I pull them apart, and apparently, so Matt, the bartender who I made buddies with, goes, "Dylan, no, wrong guy." Those are the exact words out of his mouth. And as he's doing that, he's opening up another can of Busch Light for me, like he's gonna bribe me with this Busch Light. And all I was gonna do, like, in my head, I'm just like, no, we're done.
Yeah.
Like, if I gotta physically throw you out, like, I will.
Right.
Like, we're good. I'm done. And I was a little leaner back then. Like, I probably definitely could have held my own.
Right.
Like, I was coaching up until that point, so I had some fresh wrestling in my head.
Right.
And I could have turned. I have the guy that was getting his ass beat in this hand. I have the guy that tried to fight me in this hand. And apparently I let this guy go to grab the beer, is what I can gather. I don't think I was that drunk that night. But I go and I turn to this guy. He's like, "I'm so sorry, man." I'm like, "Dude, don't apologize to me. Like, I didn't fight you. Like,
Right.
I don't know what's going on here. I don't care." And I go turn back to the other guy, because I'm assuming this dude's going to try to beat my ass. Like, so I'm like ready for this guy. And he thought, so this guy in my hand, he thought that was the guy I was going to fight. Because I ended up talking to him afterwards. I'm like, what were you even talking? I wasn't fighting anybody, dude. I was just getting them off of one another, because nobody was doing anything. But yeah, so now every time I've been to Tater Hill, I have personally been involved in some form of a It's been probably 4 or 5
what happened
times.
to the other guy, though?
I don't know, he disappeared. Literally just freaking disappeared. Like, vanished like a freaking, like, maybe he's a figment of my imagination. This dude was beating his own ass. I have no idea.
So who was wrong guy?
The wrong guy was dude in this hand. The guy that was at the other end of the bar. Because he wasn't doing anything. The other guy just got a burr up his ass and decided all of a sudden, I'm going to go beat this dude's ass.
Yeah,
And they were both terrible fighters. Like, at 5 minutes, like, somebody's getting knocked out.
Oh, yeah.
It's either me or you.
Right.
Like, well, somebody, I'm going to choke you out in a minute.
Yeah. I don't know if you've been in, like, long fights. Fights are tiring.
Yeah, they're
so
terrible.
tiring.
And drunk going for 5 minutes.
Oh, my God. I'm exhausted. I'm quitting. I'm going to be like, you won. Give me a beer. I'm going to go.
You want another Tater Hill story? I got another one.
Okay.
So we went out. It was there was a group of four of us, and I'm usually like the only guy, because there was me and 4 girls, and then a girl had invited a guy along, and I'm sitting at the bar having some drinks, and usually when we go, because like that night the fight happened, I literally bought there was like 10 of us, and I bought everyone's drinks. It was like $56. I was like, I don't know if I got compensated to be a bouncer tonight or what. So I'm sitting there drinking my beer, and this guy comes over.
What do you drink? What do you drink? Busch Light?
Back then it was Busch Light. Now I'm a light twisted tea guy.
Oh, yeah.
So
Twisted tea's not bad.
also do
horrible hangovers. Though.
Yeah. Also do like 1783 and Diet Dew, like in my father-in-law's garage.
Okay.
It's a great combo.
Yeah.
My father-in-law's a big bourbon guy, so
I'm a bourbon and tequila.
We'll get you over there. He's
fan.
got a golf simulator in the garage. We can have a great time.
Oh,
yeah.
That sounds like a good time.
It's a great time.
That sounds like fun.
That's what I was doing Saturday. Anyway, so this guy comes over. He's sitting on. So back to the horseshoe. We always go to our little spot because I can see both doors.
So I'm assuming your spot's like back left-hand corner of the horseshoe.
Back left-hand corner. Like, so if this is the big horseshoe, main door's here, side door's here, no door this end. So I like to be back there so I can see everything.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
Let's get shitty bar.
Right.
So I'm sitting beside one of our friends, and she was single at the time. She's not any longer. This was 2 or 3 years ago. And this dude comes up and he starts hitting on her. And I'm just drinking my beer, and I hear him, drunk guy. You know the type, right? Yeah. Just won't shut the hell up, thinks he's got all the game in the world, all this stuff. She tells him I'm good. And he keeps going. So I turn around, I'm like, back to that, like, God bless, I don't want to get involved.
It's like when your dad has to get up to get a beer, he's just like,
yeah, exactly. It's like, son of a bitch. So I take a swig of my Busch Light, I turn to the guy, and I go, hey, buddy. She said she's good. That's all I said. Just kept it simple, like, wasn't confrontational. Back to that protector mentality, like, I want to see this girl have a good time.
Right.
She said she's good. Meanwhile, my wife and her best friend are outside. Okay, well, this is all transpiring. So, I literally, it's a swivel chair. I turn back, take a swig of my beer, and I go back, and dude is right here in my ear.
Ooh.
And I'm like, dude, come on. Like, once again, like, I don't want to fight you. Like, I don't want to fight you? There's no part of me. My wife's gonna be pissed.
Right.
Somebody's going to jail.
Right.
Somebody's probably leaving. Like, there's no good outcome. I don't want to fight.
When they get that close, like when they just want to talk to you, that you know, like it's always like you're just like you always have terrible breath.
Yes,
like,
they're horrible breath.
With, like, whatever. And you're just like
whatever dude ate 3 days ago because he hasn't brushed his teeth.
Right.
Yeah, so I'm like, all right, smell-o-vision.
That smells like a fight. Like that's like you're like.
It never escalated. Like they've never escalated, luckily.
Oh, that's good.
So I'm not giving away the story, but anyway, so the guy's this close, and he's like, it was like third grade insult in my ear. What the fuck you say, Cartel? And I'm like, yeah, dude, haven't heard that one since middle school. Yeah, and I think I pissed him off more because I was like, I don't care. Right. She said she was good. Just go. I'm always that guy. Like I instantly get a little bit sober, and I'm like, go back to your seat.
Right.
That's all I'm asking you to do. Just go away. Go away. And so dude goes, so he's sitting, so we're here on the horseshoe, the corner's here, he's sitting like right here, so like we got a decent, yeah. So then,
every time you look up, you're like, ugh.
So then I want to be an asshole, right? Because like I'm a little bit of a promoter. Yeah,
I'm a petty.
So I got him to go sit down, and I'm like, yeah. I'm like smiling at him, and he's like, he's mouthing shit, nobody can understand because he's pissed drunk. And
I tend to get really loud and obnoxious or whatever.
I probably was. I probably was like, yeah, you love being sick, just... Anyway, so...
that's exactly, that's fun.
I'm talking to my friend. My wife's still outside with one of her friends. And I go... this was like the course of like 5 or 10 minutes. It wasn't that long. So I go and turn and look, and dude is getting up. And I'm like, son of a bitch! Like, I guess we're doing it. So I get up, right? As a man, you're like, I'm not
going to let you just hit me while I'm sitting down.
No, like, you're not getting a sucker punch in.
No, I don't know.
So I gotta get up. I don't even get in a fighting stance. Like, dude's like Mike Tyson's knockout, like rolling. And I'm like, if you're gonna do it, do it. Like, at this point, I'm provoking. Like, I'm like, if we're gonna do, like, get it over with.
Right.
Like, I'm always one to take hard shit head on.
Yeah.
And so my wife comes in. My wife comes back in, and
so she's been gone this whole time.
Yeah, like I said, it was like 5 minutes. Like,
oh, okay.
Yeah, and they were doing girl things. My wife doesn't smoke. Like, it wasn't like she was having a cigarette. They were outside doing girl things, and having a side combo. And dude comes in, or she comes in, and the friend had invited a boy, right? And me and dude had made small talk. Let's get back to the comedian thing. He's like, just stop. They're fighting. That's all he says. And my wife's like, who's fighting? Because she just thinks I'm standing.
Right.
Like, she doesn't know the whole story. She's like, well, Dylan and that other guy. And she's like, no, he's not. Like, let me go. I think we're just, maybe we're engaged at that point. Let me go see my boyfriend, fiance, whoever.
Right.
And dude's like, no, it's fine. Just stay back. Like, and my wife can handle it. She freaking works with 1,500-pound horses every day.
Right.
Like, I'm more scared of her than most men.
Well, no, yeah.
Like I said, never ended up getting escalated. I think the bartenders ended up breaking it up. Like, they had apparently learned from their previous experience.
Don't let them fight it out.
Yeah, so they ended up breaking it up. Her friend was pissed drunk. God bless her. I love her to death. She gets, like, I think they ended up getting dude sat back down. Like, nothing ever really went, like, super. But then my wife's best friend just was like, you don't talk to my friend like that. I'm like, Bailey, we
just got it.
yes, we were good, bro. What are you doing?
That's the worst. There's always one.
Why are you instigating?
Like, as soon as you see everybody sit down and separated, like,
it's
there's
done.
always like
it's
one.
done.
Yeah,
Yes.
There's always one that's like, yeah, that's what I fucking thought.
Yes.
Like,
So then they end up. I think we decided. My wife decided to leave because at that point I'm just once again back to let's just get it over with.
Right.
If it's gonna happen, like let it happen. If he beats my ass, like at least I stood up, right? You know, I'm cool with that. I'm cool. I'll take my licks.
Oh, I've taken my licks.
Yeah.
You know, it's not fun, but
yeah. And what pissed me off the most about that though is like once again they have a back door, and they put dude in like the breezeway for the front door. They're like, no, you go out the back. I was like, no. No, I'm walking right by. I want to look him in the. I want to look him in the face. I want to kiss him on the cheek. Like I'm that guy.
Yeah,
like I'll do whatever. Like and they're like, no, you're going to the back. And my wife finally is like, yeah, no, we're going out the back. And I'm like, okay, fine. And I think
I'm walking around.
I think I still got when we were parked out front. So I think I was like, yeah, bitch, I'm going home. Like I was just But anyways, man, Tater Hill, it's not a bad spot.
Sounds like a good time.
Just something with me.
Yeah.
My wife just went without me, and she's like, "It's a great time. I don't know what the problem. It's you."
I was just gonna ask about Mansfield. What's like the cool places to go in Mansfield?
We go to Backroom most of the time. It's a little. We'll talk about the dive bar types.
I love
cheap
dive
beer.
bars.
Cheap beer. They got live music, pool tables, dartboards. It's a nice little spot. That's usually where we'll go. I mean, now at this point in my life, I'm not. I just don't do that. Like my wife and I don't go out.
Right.
We're also very social drinkers. We don't we have alcohol in our house. I can't tell you a time I've ever sat down and had like a scotch.
Shots, right?
Yeah, like I'm not that guy. I get home, I don't decompress that way.
No, me neither.
I don't know why.
I just and like I'm already like a sociable person, so like I just become like a more exaggerated form of myself, which is like if that's hard.
Better or worse, right?
Right. I like I always tell people like I genuinely don't a lot of times don't know what I'm gonna say until after it's already out of my mouth, and I like there's so many times where I'm like like shit like I should have like at least like reduced that, but like I always tell people like when I go out drinking like and it's never happened, so it's not like something that's a regular occurrence, but it shocks me that I'm not like beat up.
Just because you say whatever.
I say outlandish things to strangers all the time, and it's just like, but what I've learned is if you say it with a smile on your face, it tends to be accepted.
Typically, I can walk myself out of any shit pile I get into. Like eventually, I'll just, hey, you know what?
I fucked up.
Yeah, I'll take ownership. Like it's fine. No, that's me, dude.
Yeah,
like, that's all me.
Yeah, no, I'm a dick.
And I just try to be nice more than anything. Like I just want to be. So, and what was the? Let me lead in with this. What can you identify as like? Can you describe to me like your darkest moment at this point in your life?
Oof.
Sorry, I know we're going like complete 180 here, but I think this is we're kind of doing a springboard here.
Yeah, that's fine. No, I understand. We gotta get back on.
Sorry, man. That was my fault. That was my fault.
No, I antagonized. I instigate those stories. Those are good stories, though. I've had.
What was your lowest? Let me ask you that.
Oh man. So like there was a time where like so there was a time probably in 2000, this is probably 2014-ish era, I started dating a girl, and like, no, this was before that, this is when I turned 21, it's like 2012, so before I turned 21, me and her, like, we were like a fresh relationship, so like I've already said a few F words. So
you can say whatever you want.
Okay.
It's I control the. No,
okay.
no, there's no sponsors.
Okay.
I'm the sponsor.
Gotcha. Alright. So, like, basically what we would do is, like, as a new relationship, obviously, like, we'd go out, have fun, drink, go home, and, whatever.
Do what couples do.
Do what couples do.
We'll keep it as PC as we can.
Right, I'm trying,
Yeah.
I'm really trying. And then, like, she ended up getting, DUI, because we got into, like, an argument at a friend's house, and she was like, I want to go home, and I was like, okay, cool. And we got back to her, I had my car at her house, so she drove back to her house, in my car, or no, her car was at hers. So like we drove back, and then she was like, we ended up talking it out, and she was like, you know, I want to go. This is gonna be a long story, just so
Yeah, you're good,
buckle
man.
in.
No.
So she's like, I want to go back to your house now. So I was like, I'm not driving my car again, because like Perkins, I don't know if you know anything about that. Perkins cops, the worst.
But either way, man, it's a good, like, and at 21, like, you don't have good gauge on that stuff.
Right.
But, like, at this point in my life, like, there's not an instance where it makes sense.
No, drinking, I could never. But
I performed a citizen's arrest on the guy one time because he sideswiped me because he was pissed drunk. And I remember, I'll keep my story short so we can get back to yours, but I remember him getting out of the car and I remember berating him about what if you had a single mom and killed her.
Oh, yeah.
And now you made kids an orphan.
Yeah.
You know, or something like we think about that. We have to think about the gravity of the situation,
Yeah,
and obviously that
absolutely.
comes with age,
Right.
Right. And well, I'm not saying kids don't do dumb things, but like that's just not. It's not a good thing.
Right.
And
Not worth it at all.
No.
There's no, like, best case, like, literally best case, like, the best case scenario is you make it home
Yes.
safe.
But how hard was it to call over? You know, like
no, that's what I'm saying. Like, that's like
or
if everything
sleep
went
on the
perfect.
couch or
yeah.
sleep on the front yard. Like
That's like if everything goes perfect. So like the reason why you're even hesitant to do it is because you know everything that could go wrong, and like a lot of the times, at least something is gonna go wrong. It never goes perfect.
Best of the worst is you get a DUI.
Right, absolutely.
Genuine.
That's literally best case scenario.
Yeah.
If best of the worst. I like that actually a lot. But so essentially, she got pulled over because she had this old Firebird, and like I remember we were driving down Bogart Road, and there's like this Patton track where it meets Patton track. They're like all the way down by Route 4. We're coming back, and like I see a car at that stop sign, and it's like there's no other cars coming towards us. There's no other cars going the same direction as us. I was like, he should be pulling out. Like I was like, you should be pulling out. And like as we were approaching it, I was like, oh, that's 100% a cop just chilling. And like she goes past, she's like, my brake lights are out. And I was like, oh, perfect.
Yeah, this is great.
Yeah,
this
perfect.
is great.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up. So now I have something to talk about. I didn't know our brake lights were out. But she's driving, so I refused because I'm not stupid. But she wanted to go back to my place, so we're on our way. Cop gets behind us, and of course we have to turn left. So like obviously you can't take a left-hand turn on Campbell Street doing, 45 or 55, whatever the speed limit is.
Just to get out.
Because now it's a roundabout. We could have got away with it now.
Yeah.
Just shifted downshift a little bit, but no. So at this point in time, it's a hard left. So like I was like, oh man. So like she hits the brakes. And if you're familiar, it's like right by Perkins High School, there's like a little bridge. There used to be a bridge that you drive over top. And like we're going and like we get over the bridge. I'm like, man, maybe he didn't see it. I was like, we just got, hopefully that light's green.
Yeah.
And we can just cruise through. And then like probably as soon as it hit this like, this is just a prologue by the way. As soon as we hit there's a neighborhood on the right called Windermere. The cherries and berries are right behind us and I'm just like, and unfortunately, like I know everybody in the town, so like he comes up and I'm like BSing with him. He was like a dare officer back in the day, and he's talking to us, asking if she had anything to drink. Blah blah. Asked me. I was like no, and then like it was just like meant to like ruin my day. Like I don't know if like I just like must have went like this, and we had a bottle of like vodka in the car. I must have like kicked it, and you just hear ding 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 ding, and he flashes the light, and he's like, "What's that?" And I was like, "Ow."
Just playing stupid. At 21, you think you're so smooth, like you're just.
I was 20 at this point.
Oh yeah, even worse. Yeah.
I was like, and she goes, "Oh, this is my brother. This is the car. My brother works on this car," and I was like, "Hell yeah, good save."
And you think you're being so smooth when you're driving.
Right. I was like, it was so funny because like at the time I was like, damn, this bitch down. Like that was quick.
Yeah.
But he was like, well, you can still, let's consider it open container. And then he ended up breathalyzing her. I had to breathalyze.
Yeah, 'cause you're 21 or 20 at the time, so you gotta figure out if you have an underage.
So yeah, that happened, and that's just to give you what happened. So eventually, she was like, we're not going to drink anymore. So we're like, she was like, we'll find out, if we actually like each other, or we were just good at doing what couples do together while you guys were drunk. And so, like, we hung out for a while. It wasn't really a big thing. And then, like, one day she, like, told me, this is going to get dark, I'm going to let you know.
That's
this.
good, man.
Okay.
Yeah, you're good.
I don't, it doesn't bother me at all, because
It's part of the story, bro.
Okay.
You're good.
So,
Of who Tyler is.
so one day she texted me, she was like, I got something for us to have fun with. And like I was like, what? I didn't have any idea what she was talking about. And essentially it was like a painkiller. So like we did that, and that turned into like, that's what we did, and then did what couples do together. And that escalated over like a 2-year period, and then like we ended up breaking up. But like,
You didn't break up with the
yeah,
addiction.
well, I ended up doing that also. But like right when we broke up, it was really hard because she was the one who had that. So I basically was just forced to like go through that by myself during a
like
breakup.
withdrawals, yeah.
Withdrawals, breakup, all that by myself. And that was probably the darkest. That was really hard. But like, that's what, like, but like during that period, like, you hang out with like the lowest of the low, but you meet some of the nicest people in the world.
I'm not saying they're bad people,
No.
but unfortunately when they're doing shitty things,
Right, I agree completely.
sticks to your shoes.
Right, absolutely. But that's like why I was like saying another thing, why I know like I'm a pretty good judge of character, because I've met some of the best people, I've met the nicest, most caring people I've met in the worst places. And I've also met some of the, worst scum of the earth people in high places. So like I'm pretty good, and like and everything in between in both of those places. So like I have a very good judge of, I personally believe I have like one of the best, and this I hate always like bragging about myself, but I do think very highly of myself. I think I have a very good moral compass. I believe like when I'm doing something, I'm almost always like, I'm very selfless, like, because I don't really care, like, this is probably going to be, like, sound weird, but I don't care about myself as much as I care about the people that I care about.
Absolutely understand that, yeah.
So, like, I do everything I can to make sure the people that I care about are in the best possible position, and if I'm going to go out of my way for other people, way further out of my way than for myself.
Well, let me ask you, like, so what, because I'm the guy that's never even touched weed, like, I've drank some alcohol, which I think is just as bad as most things out there, really. You look at the way it destroys families, and addicts are addicts, is kind of the way that I look at things.
Yeah.
So, if they weren't an alcoholic, they'd probably find something else,
Oh,
type
yeah.
of deal. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And not saying that people don't have control over certain things, but like, kind of walk me through the emotions and
It's very helpless because
the process with that.
like getting through like the withdrawals.
The withdrawals and stuff,
Okay,
yeah.
So at first it starts off very physical, like you get like everything hurts, everything feels terrible.
Because you were numb.
Right, and it really is like it numbs you emotionally, physically, all of that stuff. But like you start feeling pains that you just from like walking around, you realize like you have pains that you haven't felt in years, different things like that, and just it starts off with that, and then you get like you just feel like you have the worst flu forever. You can't sleep. It's not like you can just sleep it off. So like the sleep, like I didn't sleep for 17 days. I did it cold turkey though. So like I'm sure there's like some things that you can do to like.
Yeah, but that's honestly, in my opinion, one of the best ways to go about it.
Yeah.
Because then you're not dependent on something else.
Right, and on top of that, like it was a lesson learned. That's what it was like. That's what I feel like.
Yeah, how long did that go on for?
I mean, like you're not like.
No, how long did the addiction go on for?
About 2 years.
Okay.
As long as we were in a, probably less than that, because our relationships was like 2 years, probably about 2 years, because it was like, relationship was like from, like summer before I turned 21 until probably like 2015, so somewhere around that. So, the addiction went probably on for 2 years.
I was just curious how long, you'd been using that stuff. Like,
Oh yeah.
because I think that plays a role too. Right?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely. And like it's never enough. Also, while you're doing that, like you could expect to. It's even worse when you have to feed two addictions, like me and hers, because like, especially like a psychotic, like.
You talk about fights that go into that.
Oh
like,
my god, and it's never enough because like, you know, even for yourself, you're like, oh, I'm gonna like even. But the problem with me is like I was always doing the bare minimum to make sure she was satisfied, because like I just wanted her to be happy. Because if she's not happy, she was.
Which actually kind of worked out in your favor
right.
more.
It
Like,
probably
I mean,
did. It
genuinely.
probably did.
Because everything happens for a reason.
Right. And eventually, like, it just, like, it teetered out with her, and it was a very volatile relationship to begin with. She was, like, even physically, like, she hit me with her car at one point in time. Like,
At least you're on painkillers.
right, the craziest thing is, like, you don't realize how, like, big and hard cars are.
To get hit with one.
To get hit with, like, didn't even seem like it was moving fast. Like, I was like, I didn't even try to get out of the way at the time because I was like,
Ain't no way. Ain't no way.
like, I'm like, it's not gonna hurt.
Well,
like,
that's
just like,
was that the T-Bird
the Firebird.
or Firebird?
Yeah.
Yeah,
But-
so that for sure, like that's a car they don't
Oh, no,
crush.
I'm
like,
talking. It
That's
hit my
American
knee,
steel.
knocked me in the air. I remember thinking, I was like, I'm never gonna use this knee again. This knee is shattered into pieces. And like, it had to be going like 3 miles an hour. I feel like it wasn't going fast. And I was like, I could have just went like literally just went like.
Stepped out, yeah,
Right.
exactly.
And I didn't, and it was a huge mistake. Like even like my body made such like adverse action, like just like such a dynamic action that like she even was like, because she was about to just bounce, like leave, and then she was like, she saw it and she was like, oh shit.
she
She's
felt
getting out
bad.
of the car. No, she hit me with her car. She was very abusive. So like, and then if like we were like, because you know that habit is not a cheap habit.
No.
So like it's not, you know, whatever.
That's why you see. I mean, like you talk about the like not to degrade you, but like you see the crackheads stealing. You know,
Right.
that's because it's an expensive habit to keep up.
Well, I mean,
And you're
and like
chasing
so
more.
many people move on to like heroin and fentanyl now because it's so much cheaper. Because nowadays, like, you know, because back then, like right before, like literally right before I started, is when they started implementing those. So there's like an international pharmacy database.
Yeah, so they could tell who's
So they
getting
could,
what.
who got what.
Yep.
And you could, like, before that, you could just go state to state, and there'd be people who would do that and get prescriptions. But, like, so this was, like, towards the end of that. And so, like, the actual, like, pain pills were very expensive back then. And so that was a very high dollar habit. And, you know, I wasn't making a ton of money. I was still in college for part of it. And working, like, summer work, I was working at, like, a factory. And, you know, it wasn't great money, it wasn't bad, but, you know, it still wasn't keeping up with both of our addictions. And then if she wasn't happy, she was a psych, like I said. She hit me with her car. One time she hit me with a, you know the shop vacs?
Yeah.
The extension, but the skinny one at the end that's supposed to get like
Oh, yeah,
really
the
small
one-
dust. Hey yo, and this girl was a country girl, bro. She swung that like a baseball bat. Like she obviously played softball. Like she had a good swing, good follow through.
They call it
like,
big lumber.
Right, like
Yeah.
I'm talking like I don't really know if I still have the scar, but like it was cut like all the way down, and you could like see like the fat underneath my skin.
Yeah.
And I remember I was like, oh yeah, no, this is a great idea. this is smart to keep this going.
No, man, but like it's yeah, that kind of stuff I think is important. You know, to who we are.
Oh,
as well.
absolutely. That's why I enjoy who I am, knowing the experiences I have, because like you don't like one of my favorite things is like I actually love my emotional range. Like I'm very emotional intelligent. I know what I'm feeling, why I'm feeling it, and you know how to act accordingly. Like I don't act out, I don't flip out, I don't have like rage moments. Like, and I enjoy feeling sad. I enjoy feeling anger. I enjoy feeling all those negative emotions because they make the positive emotions so much better. So like when you're having like a bad day and then like your best friend comes around, he's like, yo, let's go, you know, play some golf, let's go do whatever we're doing, want to go hiking, and like you have those moments of just like bliss. It feels so much better because you know how bad it can be.
We can't have peaks without the valleys.
Right. Absolutely.
You know, and no, that's good stuff. Let me ask you this. Let's get back to some positivity. What's been the happiest moment of your life so far? Or maybe just one that, like you had one come to mind when I said that.
Happiest?
Or most joyful, or like most memorable.
Ugh, I don't know. I'm a very happy person in general. There's just so many different like aspects of happy, proud. Like I have like
I can think of like proud moments. I can think of like happy moment. Like I don't know. Like I have like a weird one. That like it was just like blissful ignorance. That was just like just unadulterated happiness.
Let's
It
hear that
was
one.
just like it was just me and my friends. We were all hanging out. We went to a concert. We came back. My friend like got this like high definition projector. Like it's not like a great story, but it's
Oh,
like
so
just
good,
like
man.
it's
Yours.
interesting. And like it was right before we all went off to college. Like we went to visit Columbus. We went to this concert. We came back. My friend just got this like HD. It was like before 4K and everything was
Yeah, it's back when the
HD, like
Blu-rays were badass,
right,
right?
But he had a projector and we put it up on like his whole wall, probably a little bit bigger than this wall. And he had like he had a new piece or his college laptop that his mom just bought him or whatever, and he downloaded like a emulator, so we were playing Nintendo 64 games, and he had like Xbox controllers, and we were just we put up Mario Kart, and it was just like the core group of friends, like the friends like you hang out with
It
every
was
day.
like a childhood moment.
Yeah, and like I remember just like thinking that like just being with them, and like you don't realize like it's the last time, like sometimes you don't realize it's the last time you're ever gonna hang out with like your best friends as a group again, and like you know like I just really appreciated that moment. Like I don't know, just I always explain it as ignorant, like blissful ignorance, like just not knowing what the world has. You know, is coming at you. You're an adult finally. It was just like the last moment of like childhood innocence with your best friends
That's good.
doing something, and it was just like this. I just remember feeling like this is awesome right now.
What's Andy say from The Office in the last episode? You wish you knew you were in the good old days when you were
Right.
actually in them.
Right.
You know,
Exactly.
And, no, and that's good stuff though, man. It makes sense. Like I think I have some memories like that where, you know, you just didn't know what the world had in store for you. You were
Right.
able to still have that innocence and the childishness.
Right.
You know, like we used to play. You remember Rock Band?
Yeah,
Like
I love rock.
I remember we would play that for like hours on end
Hours.
in my basement, and
Mhm.
like my house was always like I call it the safe house because like we always had food. Like I had some buddies that were not necessarily like well off per se, and maybe didn't always have food, but like my mom always had the fridge stocked, and like
Oh.
we were the house that everybody's parents trusted that they could go to. So like we were the hangout spot.
Right.
You know?
Yeah, I had a pool dining board. So
Yeah, so exactly. So it was always the hangout spot. So, but like I do reflect back on that sometimes of like, yeah, that was when you were just able to know, you know, you're trying to freaking
Right.
be a rock, like it was the dumbest,
Right.
it was really a stupid game if you think about it, you know, because
Right.
you like do the vocals and just like, you figure out what the range is and
yeah.
stuff, but you know, it was really, like that kind of stuff, there is like some validity in on the cusp of adulthood, just getting those childhood experiences as well.
Right.
You know, because you want to think of yourself as an adult.
Well, that's
It's like
why
I had a full-time job at that point, dude. I was working 40 hours a week slinging pizzas. So like,
Right. Well, that's why nostalgia is such a good marketing tool.
it is.
Like it just gives you like a little bit of that back, and you're just like, damn, I wish and I just want to grab onto that, and
You'll never get the whole thing,
you'll
right?
never feel it again.
Because you can never experience something for the first time ever
never
again. You know.
And also, like once you realize like the reality of so many different aspects of the world, whether it is like you know you see how the world really treats some people, and it's like you never like once you understand that there's never looking past it. There's never looking past you know the detriment that some people went through to get so you could have what you have, but like once you understand it, there's that innocence is lost.
Well, and I'm reminded too, like as a parent now, especially, like there was a time when my parents treated me like I treated my daughter.
Oh yeah.
And then I'm also reminded too, like the past lives that all of us have had before we crossed lives. That includes my parents. My
Right.
parents had a whole identity. Like I was just talking about this with Carrie, but I firmly believe like the birth of my daughter was a rebirth for my wife and I, because like we became this new
Entity
group.
altogether.
Yeah, and that's my family, and that's my nucleus family. But also too, like we can. It's weird because it almost becomes like the version of us that was before. We know it happened. Like we had a really good time together, and we did a lot of really cool shit packed into like 3 years. And we know that all happened, but like it's foggy. Like you can't imagine. Like I loathe for the parent that's like, oh, I I can't tonight. I have kids, or I can't because I gotta find a babysitter.
Right.
Like, dude, like when I went to the interview with you, I'm bringing my kid along, dude. Like,
Yeah,
I don't
I
care
enjoy
what
it.
you think. Like,
Right.
she fun, you know.
She was great. Actually,
She's a
She
good
was
baby.
super great.
She's a good baby, you know. But outside of that, man, like it's weird as you transition into different portions of your life.
I was just yeah.
You know, and even with my grandparents, like you probably had this. I think all of us have this version of our grandparents. It's like this sweet, happy
Yeah, grandma,
old
grandpa.
people make you food, all that good
Right.
stuff. But for me, like I also have heard stories of like who my grandparents were before, and it's like what, like
Yeah,
you know,
it blows my mind. My grandpa made his my grandpa is very well off now. He has a lot of money, but he made his fortune playing poker with mobsters, and like that's how
It's
he made
hard to
money.
even rationalize,
Right,
right?
like. He used to call him Diamond Jim because he would come. Sometimes he'd come home with like bags of diamonds because like people would like run out of money.
That's how they bet, yeah.
Yeah, and so that's what they would bet, and like, so like we used to antagonize my grandpa. My grandpa is like in the depths of senility right now, so he's not really all there.
It sucks, man.
Yeah,
I'm sorry to hear
it happens. You know,
It
life
does. It's part of life.
Yeah, it's something, and I think watching my grandma go through kind of a similar thing. She had problems with her lungs and fluid on her lungs. And they had her on so many drugs that she used to tell us like when she was in like hospice, like they were like building tunnels underneath the room and they'd come up and like move things around
Yeah,
to
you
make
hear
them
that all
feel
the
like
time.
crazy, and just so that they look incredible or like discredit what you're saying. So so my grandma was, and like that was the hardest because my grandma was like my rock.
Yeah.
Like most of my sense of humor comes from my grandma. Like going to church, like me and my grandma would just like roast people, and like so like and then I'd start
It's a
laughing.
little counterproductive, but yeah, you know, it is.
Like, but like
No,
my
I mean,
grandma
there's
was like a
some-
big person in
yeah.
the church, but like so she like and I'm just like her like
Well-
7-year-old grandson, and like so we just like make jokes about people or whatever, and my dad would get so mad. He'd be like, Tyler, shh. My grandma would go, ooh.
Yeah, she start roasting you.
Yeah. So like, but that's like, but watching my grandpa go through that, grandma go through it first. It kind of prepared me, for what it looks like going on. But yeah, like seeing my grandpa, before this happened though, we used to antagonize my grandpa and be like, hey, we're going to play poker. You want to come? He's like, nah.
Yeah, I got my poker out of my system.
I was like, I'm trying to see what all the fuss is about, bro. Step up.
That's funny. No, man, it's grandparents play such a crucial role in life and just life in general, man. I love your perspective and where you've got to everything. I'd like to open up the floor for the last, as we start to wrap things up here, the last couple minutes. Do you have anything that we didn't talk about that you wanted to share?
No, I was just here to kick it.
Yeah, we're having a good time.
Yeah.
We are. And I really do appreciate your insights. So, thanks again, Tyler. To the guest at home that's watching, if you didn't get something out of today, I don't know what to tell you. There's a lot of little stories about life. I think there's a lot of good validity for maybe that young adolescent, I would say, that's maybe just trying to figure out who they are. And there's a lot of friendly reminders in here that you don't have to be what the world wants you to be. You need to be who you were made to be. And so if you got some value out of today's podcast and you've listened all the way to this point, my biggest ask is, once again, there's no sponsors involved. We really do this from the aspect of this is not a money-making thing. This is a thing to get out folks' stories. Please share. Share this podcast with a friend. Share it with somebody that needs to hear it. Our goal is to change one life with every episode, and hopefully we're able to do that today. So, without further ado, once again, Tyler, thank you for coming on.
Thank you. It's a pleasure.
To the folks at home, keep asking yourself, what's your why?